Dassey trial transcript, day 3, page 187, continued questioning of Tom Sturdivandt. That is the doghouse. All right. Now you have one other photograph in front of you. Let's talk a little bit about that. Which photograph? What exhibit number is that? That's exhibit 169. All right. And what is depicted in exhibit 169? Depicted in this photo are a number of things. The swirl from the steel belt from the tires. Let's use your pointer, if you would, and sure. Identify for us what you believe is steel-belted wiring. This is what I believe to be steel-belted wiring from steel-belted tires. Another tire. This is a burned out, completely consumed seat from a what I thought might be a bench seat from a van. Also in here was what I believe to be bone fragment intertwined within the steel-belted tire stuff here. All right. Let's take these a little bit at a time. What was the first thing about this area that drew your attention to this pit area as being perhaps somewhat significant, or at least interesting? Well, the first thing that drew my attention to this burn pit was the bone fragment that was approximately 8 feet away from the burn pit. As you're looking at this photo, that piece of bone fragment was about 8 feet out this way. All right, we're going to switch back to exhibit, I believe it was 168. Okay. And does that help you assist perhaps in placing the area where the fragment is? Yes, it does. The bone fragment's located, I estimated, about 8 feet away from the burn pit. All right. Upon discovering that fragment, what did you do? I looked at the fragment, I did not touch it, and I was curious about this pit, so I walked over towards the burn pit, looked at the burn pit, and noticed what I believed to be other or additional burned or charred bone matter within this pile of debris and around the pit. Also, there was what I believed to be bone fragment intertwined in the steel belts, the steel belted material here. And the other thing I did is I had a twig I moved. There were leaves in this. There's some leaves here, and I moved a couple leaves and noticed what I thought to be was skull matter or skull bone fragments within the debris pile. All right, now there appear to be other implements near the burn pile. Could you identify those for us? Yes, I noticed a shovel, which was of a spade design. I also noted a hammer, a rake. There was a rake here as well, a screwdriver, and some other things within the burn area. All right, upon making, we're going to have a few exhibits brought in for you to examine. I'm having Investigator Wiegert hand you what is marked as Exhibit 170. Do you recognize that item? Yes, I do. And what is exhibit number 170? This is the rake that was at the burn site. All right. And that is the one. All right. And if we could have the officer show you 171, while Investigator Wiegert is taking that out, just so the record is clear, would you describe the condition of the rake first? It's a handled rake, certainly partially burned. The handle is partially, or the rake itself is somewhat oxidized or rusted. And it's got leaves and metal, perhaps steel belt, stuck in some of the rake blades. From your time in the Arson Bureau, you are familiar with the phrase alligatoring effect? In terms of the burn? Yes, to a certain extent. All right, well, do you see any particular type of, what's the degree of burning on that rake? Well, the burning is at the bottom and working its way towards the top, meaning that more heat was applied to the bottom of this than the top. Therefore, you got more charring and more burning from the bottom up. All right, what do you call, in your experience, that ridge-like effect on the wood that you're holding? The specific name escapes me, but okay. But you know, the heat, by looking at this, you can tell that it burned more from the bottom than from the top, and it was used, or that in the fire at the bottom. All right, so, and the handle of that rake is made out of what substance? Just wood. So wood. Very good. All right. Would you take a look at Exhibit 171, please? Do you recognize Exhibit 171? Yes, I do. This is the spade that was at the scene as depicted in the photo as well that I observed near the burn pit on November 8. All right. And if you would, what is the handle of the spade made of? This would be a wood as well. All right. And describe the condition of, first of all, the spade itself, the shovel portion of the bottom of the shovel. The metal part is what I would refer to as a spade. and it does show some signs of also being exposed to fire, with some of the charring at the bottom of the blade towards the blade itself. All right, does the blade appear to be somewhat oxidized? Yes, it does. Is that an unusual occurrence for metal being exposed to fire? No. All right, very good. I'll have Investigator Wiegert take that from you. Now, after you made the discovery of the bone fragment, which was about 8 feet in front of the area that you've described, and then you indicated you used perhaps a twig or something to move some leaves to get a closer look at some of the other items directly in the darkened area, which is depicted in Exhibit 168, which is portrayed on the screen, I believe. Yes. All right. After you made these discoveries, what did you do? After the bones or bone matter or charred matter was discovered, at that point we made several phone calls. We attempted to contact some of the arson folks and have them come over. They were busy with other issues. We also contacted the crime lab folks, and because they were busy processing other scenes, it was probably an hour and a half or so before the crime lab actually arrived at the burn pit. All right, and who in fact arrived at the burn pit to assist you? The crime lab personnel were John Ertl, Chuck Cates, and Guang Zhang. All right. Prior to their arrival, did you attempt any processing of the pit yourself? Absolutely not. All right. When they arrived, tell us how the pit was processed. When the crime lab arrived at the scene, John Ertl and others, as well as myself and Deputy Jost, assisted with erecting a sifting apparatus. And this is just not something one person can erect. It's a large tripod type piece of equipment, and so it took a couple of us to erect this thing. It's again a large tripod. It probably stands 8 feet off the ground. And from that, after putting up the tripod, we then attached sifting devices, which were probably 2 feet in width and maybe 4 feet in length, and begun to sift through that debris pile. All right, and how did this sifting actually mechanically occur? John Ertl and some of the other crime lab folks actually scooped up that debris material with I believe a flat shovel, if my memory serves me correctly, placed that onto those sifting screens, which were, again, I think 2 feet wide by 4 feet in length. There may have been more than one sifter, and as the debris is placed on the top of what we sorted, and we picked out things that we felt were either bone fragments, teeth, metal grommets, zipper, a piece of metal belt buckle, and so as we sifted through that, we took those things out that we thought might be bone matter and other things that might be of importance, and then placed those items into a box that was turned or that the crime lab took with them after we completed sifting that pile of debris, which is right there. All right, I'm having Mr. Fossbender show you Exhibit 172. If you would take a moment to examine that exhibit. Do you recognize Exhibit 172? Yes, this is the zipper that we picked out of the debris that we were sifting through. All right, from this pile. All right, are there any particular markings or anything on that zipper? Yes, there are. And would you tell us what they are, please? They are in capital YKK. All right, very good, thank you. Approximately how long did the sifting process take that you engaged in? I think I would just have to guess was roughly 2 hours, and that included the time that we actually set up the apparatus, the sifting, and we sifted rapidly due to darkness. All right, and you indicated the presence of other implements or items in the general area of the pit? Yes. I'd like you to, first of all, if you can recall, what implements, if any, were actually found in the darkened area, which looks like the burned part. If you could recall what was found in that part. I believe there was a screwdriver, hammer, of course this steel belt wiring, a hacksaw blade, and I believe that was it to the best of my recollection. I'm having Investigator Fossbender show you Exhibit 173. Is there an item depicted in there? Yes, it's a screwdriver. We'll have that projected in just a moment. That is the screwdriver that you were just speaking of? Yes. The photograph also appears to depict some circular wire material. Yes, in my opinion, this was more steel belt wiring. All right, very good. And that was Exhibit 173. As 5 o'clock drew near, what did you do? As darkness was nearing, we sifted what we could, and I felt it was important to pick these items up and get them to the crime lab, because at this point in time, we don't know if Teresa Halbach is alive or dead, so it was important with the impending darkness to sift through this stuff, do it fairly quickly, be thorough, pick out what we could, and then get that to the crime lab so the crime lab could analyze that and make some sort of determination. So after we sifted through the remaining debris, and we sifted this on top of a tarp that I think was 6 feet by 8 feet. So the stuff that we sifted through, we collected, we double and triple bagged that debris that was depicted in the picture and placed that into the Calumet County evidence van, if you will. So, all right, and how was the pit preserved, if at all, when you were done? The pit, we placed a tarp over the pit so that if this in fact turned out to be Teresa, that we would then go back and more closely examine that pit and a little closer. We're going to have you identify one more exhibit. Investigator Wiegert prepared the exhibit for your examination. This may require you to step off of the stand. I'm not sure what your view will be. Just bear with us one moment. Mr. Sturdivandt, would you step forward? I'll share my microphone with you so everyone can hear. We've had now produced an exhibit marked 174, and do you recognize it? I don't know that I need it. I do, and then maybe we put up photo 169, or sure, and I can just point that out to you. Yep, this is in my opinion, just a burned out bench seat frame from a motor vehicle that is clearly completely consumed. That was to the, as you're facing this pit, if it's directly in front of us, this seat or bench seat was immediate to the right, or the edge of it towards the burn pit. All right, and just so it's clear, Exhibit 174, is this the seat which you observed at the scene and which is depicted in Exhibit 169? Yes, it is. All right, you may have your seat. Thank you. Does it appear to be in substantially the same condition as it was when you first observed it? It does. Attorney Fallon, Your Honor, at this time I would move into evidence Exhibits 168 through 174. Upon their receipt, would tender the witness for cross-examination. The court. Any objection, counsel? Attorney Freeman, no objection. The court. Items 168 through 174 are received, and you may cross. Attorney Freeman, thank you. Cross-examination by Attorney Freeman. If I could just use those photographs, thank you. You're welcome. While I'm doing this, if I could ask you a couple of questions, maybe a silly question, but I don't know the answer to this. As you looked at each item, you put on a pair of gloves, correct? Yes, I did. Why do you do that? Well, because for one, there's soot on the items, and two, to keep my hands clean. And secondly, just because it's something you typically do when you're processing evidence. So it's just a normal occurrence for you probably from being a crime scene tech for so long that you just second nature grabbed some gloves? Yes. I'm not a crime scene tech, so that's why inaudible. I'm not a crime scene technician either. Okay, this is Exhibit 169, the picture? Yes, sir. And this, I believe you testified to, was essentially the van seat with some steel-belted tire wiring wadded up, correct? Yes, sir. And just behind that is a tire, correct? Yes. Obviously, that tire doesn't look burned. No. Correct? Is this the way the scene looked when you got to this fire pit area? I do not recall some of these red flags being in the crime scene. The van seat itself, though, was not on the actual ashened area of the pit. It was off to the side like this. The van seat was close to the edge of the burn pit, and this isn't a complete photo, so I'm not certain how close that is to the pit. So did someone move the van seat to where it's at now? It's hard to depict from this photo exactly where the burn pit is, but the seat was located, that's a fairly accurate representation of where that seat was. Okay, I guess I was under the impression from your previous answer that you said that the van seat itself was somewhere in this area when you first arrived? Maybe we can get a better photo, but the van seat was to the immediate right of the burn pit. Okay, I'll show you Exhibit 168 again, the larger picture of the burn pit. Yes, the seat would have been right here, right beside the pile of steel-belted wire. Do you know who moved it? I do not. Was it some other officer or someone else that was at the scene before you? I assume that was moved after the scene, probably taken into evidence. Agent, I'm going to show you what's been marked Exhibit 175. Can you describe what that picture or photograph shows, and then I'll put it on the Attorney Kratz. If you just hit 1, it's all queued up. Attorney Freeman, great. Now, using this photograph, can you better, yes, describe, okay. All right, this is the burn pit, and this is a seat to the right of the burn pit. Okay, but as far as you know, the seat itself had not been on the burn pit area, where the sunken area when you arrived. It was where it is. It was now in the picture. Right. It was not the burn, the seat was not on top of the debris pile. It was to the right. Okay, now you